Okay, so we are live, and there is some lag between what we are streaming and what's going on LinkedIn. So we'll have to wait a little bit here and there. But just to get started, if people have tuned in, maybe they can confirm if they can hear me loud and clear, and there's no problem. So this is actually the first live of 2024 that I'm doing. Last live I did was with an agency from US itself. They work solely on LinkedIn ads, Impactful. So yeah, that yeah, it's my first live for 2024.
Awesome. I think it was Justin Rowe, right?
No, Justin Rowe had to come on the live with Shri yesterday, but there was some emergency. We had to cancel that last minute. We'll definitely get him in next time. But yeah,
Super
I
guy.
think, yeah, superb guy actually. I think I'll have to rush down and get my charger. But yeah, just give me 1 minute.
No problem. No problem.
Too bad um my current had to go out right now, and it's still not here. But I am somehow managing the stream. But yeah, just give me 1 minute. I'll
No
just
problem.
yeah, I should have checked my laptop, but cool. Give me 1 second. I'll do something. I should have seen before going live, maybe.
Take 30 seconds, no problem.
Yeah, no worries. Hey, I'm back. I'm sorry, I had to change my location because of the mess.
No
But
problem.
thanks for everyone who's still online. It's and this is such a mix up from my end, but the current had to go right now. So yeah. Yeah, thanks Siddharth for joining and bearing with this mess up. But uh, I mean, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we can take forward. How I am looking at this live is we'll have our discussion first, and then we'll go to the question answers from the audience. The audience can put in their questions on the chat. I can take it after our discussion. So over to you.
Perfect. Thank you for having me, Priyanka. And technical difficulties is the order of the day. It happens. It's okay. Uh, Again, lovely to be here. About myself, I don't know how to introduce myself. I've been doing this for a while, but I try to keep it this way that my friends call me a marketer, and I try to live by that definition. It's been 8 9 years of doing this now. I've worked with a few brands in the past. I worked with Lenovo, with Vodafone, and lastly with Aeon, where I was handling Asia Pacific marketing. Before the monkey sat on the back and said it's time for some entrepreneurship. And it's been now 3 years since I've been running Ad Momenta, where we help B2B and SaaS brands build their positioning, help with their branding, and do the marketing side of demand generation on the content and performance bits. So that is what we are doing, and trying to do the best. Again, living up to the definition that my friends have given me. So that is me, and let's see what's in store today.
Nice, nice. How did they actually come to that labeling of you being a marketer? Was there anything inherently marketeer about you?
And I don't have a particular time when it clicked, but even so, I'm an engineer before I did my MBA. So even during those times,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's that story for a lot of people. So even during those times when others were coding, a couple of my friends used to say, "Yes, sabun bechega." So which is he'll definitely sell soap. When whatever he's doing today, we don't know what he's doing, and that is how it got built on. And then way you talk, the way you
yeah,
find observe smaller things and make inferences out of it, probably that is what got them to label me as one. And then I believe I got my opportunities being in the right place at the right time. So that is how it is eventually.
right, right. Yeah. So one more thing, Siddharth, is that you like we have posted our title as Battle of the Ages. That there's actually no battle. If we just had it to get some eyes and get some attendees on the floor. But I mean, how do you measure those success metrics? Like when balancing short-term growth goals, which is
Hmm.
performance based and all of that, and long-term brand building.
Yeah. So, as you said, there is no battle, of course, and we all love clickbait, and therefore, I try to explain it in a way that people can imagine. So, I try to transport people onto a vacation. Everyone would love Goa or any kind of a beach, so I'll just transport them over to a beach. Imagine yourself on a beach, and you observe just in a distance that there is a ship moving from, let's say, one island to the another. Now,
Hmm.
as you observe that ship, there are two things that are aiding that ship in moving from island A to island B. One is wind behind the sail. So if wind is in your direction, it helps you reach from A to B in a lesser time. The second is the levers that are running at the bottom of the ship, which help you propel forward, those propellers. So I like to link the brand and growth side of things as these two. So your growth is the propellers that are working every day at the bottom just to propel the ship forward. Brand is the wind behind the sail. So if the wind is in the right direction, the propellers are doing their job, you'll reach from A to B in a lesser time, which is the bigger goal, which is the bigger goal post. So once
Yeah.
that is aligned, that is the bigger goalpost, everything then fits into the definition of what they intend to do. When it's about the brand, about wind being in the right direction, that is more to do with getting you into the consideration set, which we define in the levers of marketing. That once you are in the consideration set of four things, You are going to buy a soap. I Today is the day of the soap, so I'll give the soap example again. If you're going to buy a soap, you have four brands in your head. If your brand is one of those, the brand team is doing their job very effectively. Coming to the growth side, what does growth do? Once the consideration set is in, if the purchase is being hastened, if they are doing something right on the purchase side from those four, if the customer is circling down to you and choosing you, that is when growth happens. So the speed of that ship is the final motto, and each of the items then works in accordance. So that is how I try to picture it to make it simpler.
Right. Is there any specific KPIs that you have in mind that play a crucial role in assessing both the aspects?
Of course. So eventually, everything comes down to measurement, and qualitative parts takes a backseat, and it becomes quantitative. So on the brand side, it becomes a little more difficult. How we like to define it is number of people eventually visiting your website. So it was, let's say, 100 people in the month of January. Over the course of 3 or 4 months, does that become 400, 500? If there are 10 people searching about your brand in the month of January, does that become 100, 200, 400 in the coming months? That is how you define the growth of your brand. So people getting aware of what you are doing and kind of problem you are solving. So that becomes your KPIs for the brand, and that has to escalate upwards. Coming to the growth side, it is more of the tactical aspects that count. So while your CPV, CPM, which is the cost per leads, cost per views, etc., these are the more performance metrics led, the performance led metrics. There are others that I personally like to cater to, which are let's say your funnel velocity. So if someone is entering your funnel and the time it is taking for him to make that conversion, earlier it was 4 months, now it has become 2 months. That is where your growth team has come into being and did the job right. So these are the smaller metrics that we look for. We look for even the average account value, or ARPU. We used to call it in the telecom world. It's average revenue per user. Now it has become AOV, which is the average account value. If that has grown from 100 rupees to 150 bucks, so that growth team is doing some job out of it. So those become your KPIs for the growth and brand sides respectively.
Yeah, got it. Understood. So then now going forward, right? Go to the growth segment after this, but now coming to the brand aspect of it, right? Maintaining a consistent brand message is vital, and in my experience, a bit tough also, right? Like what I have seen in product companies is that while they move through their uh, product lineup, and they change their approach to the market, they change their ICP going forward. That is how product companies mostly evolve. How do you ensure that your brand marketing efforts align with and reinforce the core values, and the messaging of the brand remains consistent throughout, no matter what are your changes going on?
Yes, vitally important. I think you've laid it out perfectly well. And I'll tell you why first, and then I'll go to the how.
Sure.
Why is something that we've observed working for about 2.5, 3 years now in the industry. The why has become more important in the last 2 years because we've observed that it has now become a self-served customer journey. So if Siddharth is going to buy something, he likes to take it on himself to understand or learn about the product, whether it is on the B2B side or on the B2C side. Before this, it was more about TV commercials telling you that rinse se safed ho jata hai, and your it is more about glorifying the white and things like that. Now the customers have become more informed and they want to investigate before they make a purchase. More so in case of a considered purchase, and therefore the second thing is more about community. So I am going and asking my neighbor in case of a B2C product that this is a brand of sugar that I like. Do you like it? And so on and so forth. In case of B2B, it is more of a same industry type of community. So a Pepsi guy will ask a Coke guy or another FMCG brand what kind of tools are you are using. And
Yeah.
because it has become community led and social media led, so much of social media led, the messaging that is going to let's say a Priyanka and to a Siddharth cannot be different. It has to be hit a one sweet point. Therefore, you have to be identified with one particular thing. I'll give you an example. If you're considering buying a car, especially overseas in US, in UK, in those countries, if you are a family person, safety becomes a very important consideration. And that is what Volvo did when it did its rebranding. So today, if you talk safety in cars, Volvo is one that comes to your head. So that is the messaging that they have put across campaigns. And
Hmm.
that is the why that I wanted to answer. Now, coming to the how, I think it has to flow from the top again, especially for newer companies that are trying to establish their mark. So, if you are about sustainability, if you are about honesty, if you are about getting the CFO or CHRO a voice in the boardroom, all your actions have to be in that direction, and it has to be led from the CEO. And that is what we also try to communicate when we talk to clients as well, that is your core message. Now how you are communicating it can change, and that you can leave to your brand teams or growth teams, or if that is a single team, that is that remains same. But your essence of that message, whether you are selling the product in any which way, has to be that we are all about sustainability, or we are about getting you a voice in the boardroom. And once that is aligned, the problem of changing in messaging is more or less solved. The problem a lot of organizations face is, if we do not have any brand assets, how to communicate. And I'll take you back to an example. During my working days, I was with Vodafone, and we used to manage this app called My Vodafone app. It had become a rage back then. It's about 17, 18, around that time. And we had to communicate its purpose because Geo was putting in a dent, like it is doing even today. So
Yeah.
what we did was, we had to marry the growth and brand. Now, from the growth side, the messages were very clear that it is a 2-click recharge, it is a 1-click bill payment. So your growth strategies were on those messages. How can you plug in the brand? Was what we did was brought back Zuzu's from another era. Now Zuzu had a lot of brand salience, and they had a lot of connect. Once Zuzus were introduced and the message was that 2-click recharge, 1-click bill payment, top ups, etc., the brand and growth aligned. And once that aligns, you are there in the consideration set, as I said. And once that happens, the magic starts to happen. So that is how we try and make this happen across brands.
Hmm. Understood. Yeah. Now, coming to your journey, right? When you said about a customer and how do you look at each customer, in one way, there is a consistency in your messaging while looking at the brand, and then there is a different approach when you're looking at different customers, right? Now, how do you map customer journey in your marketing strategies, considering both, acquisition and brand loyalty? Are there any touch points where growth and marketing efforts actually converge?
Yeah, correct. So again, very vital question, because we get confused in the 100 set of activities that we try and do. That what activities making a difference in which place. So what I try to do is, first or rather, now as an organization, what we try to do is bucket the customers first. So our
Hmm.
customers, what we call customers become prospects as you go up the funnel, and what we call prospects become suspects if we go
Yeah.
even over the top. So what we do is classify them into 5 types. And I'll,
Hmm.
I'll take again the soap example, because we've begun with that. So the type 1 customer is for someone who is problem unaware. So he does not know that his hands are dirty. That is how it has been, and that is how it is. So it becomes problem unaware. The second
Yeah.
one is problem aware. So he knows that his hands are dirty, but so be it, we
Hmm.
can't do anything about it. That is how the world is. The third one becomes solution aware, that okay, my hands are dirty, and there is a solution, I can wash it off with water, then it becomes clean. So that becomes solution aware. The
Yeah.
fourth one is that there are what do you call product aware, that there is a product in the market that
Hmm.
we can use to wipe off our hands. So that's called soap. He knows that there is soap in the market, so we apply soap and we wash, it becomes perfectly clean. And the
Hmm.
final one, which is the best one that all organizations crave for, is brand aware. So he or she knows that there is a Lux, there is a Whirlpool, there is a Lifebuoy, there is a Dettol, whichever brand they want, and that is what we use to make our hands clean. So
Yeah.
across these 5 levels, then we classify the messaging separately. So the first two get on the top, the middle two get in the middle, the last one is in the separate with the person who is brand aware, and then we bring the funnel in, which is the good old marketing funnel of awareness, intent, consideration, evaluation, and purchase. Now within this funnel, since you asked what is the sweet spot where the two combine, is I like to believe that awareness and intent is led 80, about 80% of time is led by brand activity. So what you do as a brand, where you are, how you are positioning yourself. Then once consideration happens, that is when the two things combine. And once you are in the consideration set, Siddharth has decided that he will purchase a CRM for his organization, and these are the four options. Now is the growth work. Then how you can hasten the purchase and make sure that your CRM is the one that Siddharth buys. And once both teams, which is growth and brand, combine on this, that once you have given me leads which are in consideration, and don't even call leads but prospects, suspects, whatever you want to call it, that
Yeah.
is when you make the eventual purchase. So activation, retention, growth of the account, referrals, this all this comes under growth, and that is how we try to classify and make the movements upwards and downwards the funnel.
Correct. Right. Understood. So now again going back to brand a little bit more.
Hmm.
So the building, like you've worked with D2C brands, right? They do one thing very well that I have also spoken a lot of times, that B2B should totally learn from them, is the emotional connect that they have with their customers, right? Building a strong brand, mostly in all cases, often involves creating emotional connections with the audience, and that's what is actually brand loyalty, right?
Correct.
Now my question here is, how do you infuse emotion into your growth marketing campaigns, and how does it contribute to brand loyalty over time? I know how it is for D2C. I'm talking about,
Hmm.
in the B2B sphere.
Yes. So again, this has been my observation. I came from a B2C background and now transitioned to a B2B. So I used to deal with those love, pride, and self worth kind of emotions. What I've realized in the last 3, 4, 5 years, for B2B, the biggest emotion is fear, and I'll tell you why. The fear is, if I choose XYZ product, what if it breaks? What if
Hmm.
it does something that it does not supposed to do? Now the fear is, I will look stupid in front of my superiors. I will get fired. I will, because you are taking a decision for your organization. Now the organization in this case can be your working organization or a family. If you're purchasing for a family, I
Yeah.
sometimes consider the purchases of TV or car like more like B2B purchases as well, because you are considered purchase
Correct.
category. So since you are taking for a decision for a group of people, there is more responsibility and hence the fear. The
Hmm.
problem that arises is, if you vote for the default, the risk of you being fired or being shouted upon are less. So if you
Hmm.
choose Windows for your PC, that is what everyone chooses. Even if it breaks, you will not be fired for it, and therefore the tendency to fall to a default is higher in B2B, because you are dealing with those kinds of dynamics. Now what are the emotions that can be used? I think FOMO is the best emotion that has been used in growth campaigns that I've seen. How it
Hmm.
is used, a lot of times, where good concepts are being copied from B2C brands is, there is a 15-day sale for a product. So when
Hmm.
you create that FOMO, in 15 days, you get a 50% off for a company-wide product. Then it becomes usage of FOMO, and so fear comes into play. I've seen
Yeah.
Dropbox use it particularly well, wherein they use greed. So how they've used it is, in the very early days they used to give some free space. I don't know what it was. I 50 MB or something. It was the MB day, so 100 MB they used to give, and upon each referral they used to give more space.
Yeah.
So even in the B2B world, that used to happen. So you use that greed. So you need to keep your company documents or whatever it is,
Hmm.
in a cloud storage, and you need more space. So you can refer people and get more space. So that was greed. That was
Hmm.
used particularly well, and that was one of the most beautiful applications of greed in the B2B world. I have tried to use love as an emotion, because so since Valentine's Day is approaching, there are products that can use love very well, uh, especially something relating to compensation. So we work with one compensation solution. Compensation is something very close to your heart, the money that comes in. So love can be used very beautifully in that case. How can it scale is something that needs to be seen. But
Yeah.
in this order, I've seen fear being used very well and will always remain to be used very well. FOMO being the top most application of it. Greed is something that Dropbox use very well, and I think a lot of products can use, wherein they don't offer discounts, but something
Mm.
inside their product as a on the top. So if you do a referral for me, we'll give you 50 extra seats if you are an assessment solution, for example.
Mm.
And that is where
Understood.
greed creeps in. And
Understood.
the last one is if it is something relating to love or self worth. I've seen pride also being played very well. So these are the
Mm.
few emotions that can be used. Some I have used. Some that are used in edtech. Again, I was just closing my answer and came to my head is the greed to be promoted. So something that we saw in one of my previous stints at Aeon was HR was being stuck at a level, and there was these courses that these guys introduced. So the feeling of pride or self worth is was induced and said that okay, you take this course, this will be your step to your next promotion. So you can become the HRBP, you can become the CHRO depending upon where you are in that hierarchy. And that is how we used selling courses at an organizational level. So
Mm.
there are a lot of applications. It's just that we try to make B2C more glamorous and B2B the boring side of things. It's not that way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. People usually think B2B marketing is boring, but it's not. Yeah. Um, so now, before I go to the next question, for the audience, you can start putting in your questions on the comment box. I have couple of more questions, brief questions. If there are any, I'll take it up after you put in your questions. So yeah, feel free to pitch in. So now, you mentioned that you are a storyteller, like, right? Like since, I don't know, since childhood, and then you have built yourself into an entrepreneur now. How do you incorporate storytelling in your marketing strategy, and what role does it play in connecting with your target audience?
Okay, so I'll try and answer this
Yeah.
in a very marketing kind of way. So when I consider marketing, I usually consider energies. So when you are marketing something, it is energies that are going off your product or brand. If you will build a brand, so and energies actually lie on a spectrum. So if there are science background audiences listening, so the spectrum lies from potential to kinetic energy. So your potential energy is actually your brand. So as much potential as you build, something which is on top, let's say 100 feet, that the more potential you build, as it gets converted into kinetic energy, so the ball falls off the cliff and it goes down. So the potential gets converted into the kinetic energy, and the more the potential, the higher the kinetic energy. So your potential energy, which is brand, and kinetic energy, which is growth, again both working together.
Mm.
And as the kinetic energy dissipates, the more the result, which is the outcome you are looking at. So I try and look at it that way, and therefore the role of kinetic energy becomes dependent on potential energy. Now this is
Mm.
a story, because you asked the storytelling question. This is a story that I crafted as I was thinking physics and science and marketing. And since this story got crafted, there are the pain point here was both were not working together. To get them to work together, the single point of unification was you cannot create energy, it has to be
Mm.
transformed. So potential energy has to be transformed into kinetic. So you cannot, the growth team cannot say that I can work without brand, and brand cannot say I can work without growth. You need energy transformation. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, is what Newton or some big guy said. So we follow that principle even in marketing, and try and transform energies. And once you are in this story, you realize that eventually it is about a pain point, and then you connect it with the story.
Mm.
Vodafone did it brilliantly. Since I was linked with Vodafone, I was a small part of this exercise. The problem was not all operators got network everywhere. So network was your problem. How they wove it into a story? They had a pug and that boy. The pug followed the boy everywhere. So network was everywhere. It was a beautiful story, and people realized how storytelling can be used to connect with audiences. And what they did was gave aspiration. So the story was you can become the next CHRO, you can become the next HRBP of your organization. And once that story flowed, how can you do it is via this course, and how can you get your network is via Vodafone. So one thing that people do not realize while crafting stories is the user, the customer, the prospect has to be the hero. And once he or she is the hero, your product, your service can be the catalyst in he or she achieving the final state, the final goal. And how we do that, how seamlessly that flows, how seamlessly the potential energy transforms into kinetic energy is basis of your story. And so we try to do that even at Ad Momenta, that create those stories so that the energy transformation is seamless. You don't realize that energy is transformed and the dollars are
Yeah.
in your bank. So that is how it is.
Understood, understood. So, one more follow up question here is, you have mentioned you have cross industry experience. You've worked with Vodafone. You've also worked with B2B companies. How do you adapt your approach to brand and growth marketing when transitioning from one industry to another? Right? Are there any core principles that remain constant?
So the beauty about marketing, and not a lot of marketers admit it, is you have only limited ways of attacking your goals. And
Yeah.
I sometimes think of the if you've seen the Ramayans and Mahabharats of the old that were on TV. So what they used to have was a simple. They had a bow and arrow with dhanush. We used to say, or a gada and or a sword. So these were the few tools that they had. How beautifully or creatively they used those tools was how
Hmm.
was defined, that if they are on the losing side or on the winning side, being at the right place at the right time against the right opponent and things like that. Once in a while you'll come across something called a nuclear bomb or a carpet bombing wherein you'll win and top ho jata hai and things like that. But essentially your tools remain same. So your principles or the pillars on which you stand remain same, whether you're doing brand side of the things or you're doing the growth side of things. How
Hmm.
you appeal to the emotions of the product that you are selling. So while buying a car, my emotions are different. While buying a software, my emotions are different. And while buying a soap, my emotions are different. That is where the difference lies on identifying where the sweet spot are. And once you hit that,
Hmm.
then your gadas and talwars and swords, etc., they all come into play, and you can take on the opposition for yourself. So I try to picture it in that way. The principles remain same. Once you identified what you want to go after, the
Hmm.
job becomes easier, and that is the most difficult part.
Right, right. That was a great metaphor. So now staying on the same cross industry experience, right? What is your observation when you saw people buying D2C products and software B2B products? What are the major behavioral changes that you have seen?
So as I said, I try, while the industry clubs it as B2C and B2B, and it should be that way. I don't have a problem with that. I try and keep it as considered and non-considered purchase. So when you
Hmm.
are saying a non-considered purchase, it's you're going to a market, you saw a packet of chips. So Lay's introduced a new color, orange color. So you said, okay, let's have it a try. It's 10 bucks, 15 bucks, 20 bucks. That is when you did not consider and more of an impulse buy. When you
Yeah.
move to a considered purchase, something that you're buying for a community, maybe for your family, for let's say your larger family, you're buying for a wedding that a family will use, or you move to an organization where there is a software. That is
Hmm.
when more things come into play, where you have to think through, read more, talk to five people. And that is where the difference lies. So if you're buying a car, you're buying a fan, which is for which is for the family. Again, you're buying new lights for your house, and things of those sort. And again, moving to the more corporate side, it is you're buying a payroll software, or you're buying uh, an ad tech platform for doing your promotions and things of those sort. That becomes more considered purchase, and therefore there is more to lose rather than gain if things go sour. And that is where the difference lies. So even if your Lay's package of 20 bucks is not good, the next time you will not buy, you will not feel lost. But once you made a commitment to
Hmm.
buying a payroll software, you need to give it 6 months for you to make it work. And
Hmm.
that is because you're investing your so much of your time and money in it. It has to be right. and therefore the decision making process becomes larger. So while you're taking 15 minutes to choose your packet of chips, you probably
Mm,
take 2 months to choose the software you're going to buy. The
absolutely.
influences on it have to be higher. So if
Mm,
your one friend tells you that this packet of chips is good, give it a shot, you will give it a try. But you need
yeah,
4 or 5 of your colleagues or industry mates to tell you that this is good, you need to give it a try for you to believe that yes, I can convince my bosses about this. So those things become different. So you need to have a lot more, what do you say, play in the industry with the people who can influence you. So a lot more influencing play as well, apart from the decision making play. So these are the subtle differences. While again, as I said, principles remain same on which you work, but proof of concept is more required in the B2C B2B industry as compared to B2C, where once you have proof of pudding, the things will fly. So those are the differences that I've noted.
right, right. Makes sense. So now enough of brand and all of these things, right? We'll go to your journey as an entrepreneur. How has it been for you, as in when you first started, especially as an agency, to get clients and then build a team? Yeah.
Okay, it's as I said, it's been 3 years now. So and it feels like it's been 30, but but it's only been 3 years, and it's been a beautiful journey, I would say. I've been lucky to have mentors who were there in case there were difficulties in the path. So the most difficult part of this is when you transition from a job to an entrepreneurial part,
Mm,
the mindset has to change, and it takes time, because you are in a job, you are confined to certain KPIs. I was confined to being a marketer, as a part of being as a part of organization. So my KPIs were brand growth, or getting in the purchases, getting in the leads, and so on and so forth. When you transition onto the other side, there are other things that need to be taken care of as well, and therefore your time divides.
yeah.
The thing that I realized a few months into my journey is I need to be a part of things that I love. So I love
Mm,
marketing. It's been my passion. So I've made it a priority that I do not step aside from doing the things, and that
mm,
is something that I realized works for me. It works for some people, it does not for others. So the process of and that is how we created the organization as well. We've divided into 3 parts. So we say we position, we brand, we market. So the act of finding the gap in the industry for a product and creating that position, creating the brand, the messaging that will go on, so the visual elements that will flow, and so that whatever you're trying to convey reaches the right ears, and then
mm,
using content and performance and other things to make sure that the right person is hearing the right things. So
yes.
this is the process that I follow, and we've tried to brand it in a way, in our organization, so that I am a big part of it. I try to be an active part of all the things that we're doing. Yes, there is a team who do a lot of work, and without whom I'm not who I am today. But uh, that has been a transition, that has been a journey, and you get to learn a lot of things, new things. You get to interact with people that you never thought uh, you would. And the biggest thing that I have loved is working cross industry. So you're working
Mm,
with 5 brands, 7 brands, 10, 15 brands, and so on and so forth. You're getting to think a lot. How is so Siddharth thinks in a particular way when he's buying a particular thing, but he thinks in a different way when he's buying a certain buy thing and certain next thing. So you take those perspectives, you learn about life, and it
yeah.
has made me more humble. It has made, I would like to believe, it has made me a better person. It has made me more forgiving, and more given me more ammunition to keep on trying. So those are the things that on a soft level have happened. On the hard level, it embraces, it helps you to push and increase your skills so that you deliver for the people you are committing to deliver. So sincerity, commitment, those kind of things. It's been beautiful, and I hope it remains this way.
Quite a hustle life, but yeah, I think that was the last question that I had. We have one question from the audience from Samir. He has asked, B2C and B2B, what's the average touch points needed in both of these with the potential
Hmm.
customers till we reach acquisition?
Okay, nice question. The problem is it will depend from category to category. But since you're asking for ballparks, I usually keep it at 25 to 30 touch points for B2B purchase, considering a software purchase, SaaS purchase. Since we work with a lot of SaaS brands, it takes at least 25 to 30 purchases for it to turn into dollars. Now, these touches could be marketing touches or sales touches. Marketing touches could be in the way of quizzes, surveys, guides, podcast invites, and things like that. Sales touches could be in form of calls, emails, etc. Or on an overall level, if you hit 25, 30, 30 touches, the propensity or the chances of that converting into dollars becomes extremely high. That has been my experience. In case of a B2B, again, non-considered purchase, something, a new brand of soap, a new brand of chips that you want to try, the number of the average frequency, we call it, is more in the range of 5 to 10 there, because you don't have to spend a lot. In case of
Mm.
a higher frequency, the touches have to increase because the movement of from on the funnel, which is awareness, interest, consideration, evaluation, becomes a little slower because you have to shell out more from your pockets. So
Yeah.
those touches are higher, somewhere between, as I said, 5 to 10 and 25, 30 for the B2B purchase. But those are the benchmarks that remain. But how you reach those touch points is where creativity comes in. You can push in a survey and then have an invite for what the report eventually says. You can have white papers, you can have reports, and you can have industry perspectives and all things of those sort. Events, I've seen events being used very beautifully nowadays. So not those large scale 20, 200, 300, 500 people events, but smaller scale mixers, 10, 15 people who are talking about industry and what is going on. Those are the good touch points, that are solid touch points that are being used in the B2B world,
Right.
to hasten the purchases.
Right, right. There are no more audience questions, but if you have any, you can put it on the chat. I'll definitely take one. I have one last question from my side. I know I've told last question a couple of times now, but in your opinion, what are the key trends shaping the future of marketing, brand growth, and how do you incorporate them into your strategies?
Okay, the funny thing is these key trends keep on changing every year. So last year we were doing something, and someone asked me
Yeah,
what are the
let's
key
say,
trends for 2023 and what are key
yeah,
trends
yeah,
for 2024.
key
It's
trends in
very
2020.
yeah, it's very catchy. But
Yeah,
I try to be very transparent with the clients that I work with as well. What has worked for the last 15 years will work for the next 15 years. So your emails, your SEOs, they are vitally important. While short video is the next beautiful thing, and you should definitely try it. It
yeah,
will definitely work for you because it is an in thing. But you do not lose focus on the power of the email and how you write. You do not lose focus on how SEO. People say SEO is dead. It is far
yeah,
from dead. There is nothing more powerful on the internet right now than a well done SEO, because it can give you eyes. It can give you the people that know about your brand. So while it is good that newer things come up, it gives us room to learn, scope to learn. So use of short form videos. There is a beautiful term that I learned. It is not coined by me. I don't know who coined it. It's called dream. So distribution rules everything around me. It's dream. So why
mm,
you're creating one form of content, how you're transforming it into five different forms of content. You have one blog post of 2,000 words. How you're transforming it into a short video, how you're transforming it into a LinkedIn carousel, or a Twitter thread, and things of those sorts. Those are the next big things, and I think we need to focus on that as well. But keep rooted is to what has worked for the last 20 years will work for the next 20 years as well. So I try to keep it as a mix of both. Video is the next thing, but I have my heart towards written content as well. So blogs will definitely keep on being the pillar around which everything, so pillar around
revolves.
which the dream circles,
Yeah,
as I said. So the
correct.
distribution around the blogs is my way of doing it. It can be different for a lot of other ways,
Right.
but short form content definitely the big thing. Podcast done in a different way. I think there has been overdose of podcast, as a lot of people call it, but I don't think so. I
That's
think
why I don't
relevant
call it
content.
podcast. I do lives.
Yeah, lives, yes.
It's the
That
same
is
thing.
very, yeah. I do my own side of podcast, but I love the interaction because
Yeah,
if you spend 15 minutes, it's just 15 minutes of time. that you spend. You get to learn from different voices, and it becomes it is one of those touch points, as the last question said. So it becomes that touch point. It gives a perspective. So short form video podcast done in a different way, but your core SEOs and good meaty written content might remain my way forward.
Right. We have two more questions from the audience, then we'll wrap up. Can you further bifurcate into demand gen and lead gen?
Okay, it's a very what do you say, trendy question nowadays. Some people say I do demand gen, and some people say I lead gen. I've tried to divide it into two parts again. Demand gen is more of generating demand. So there is a statistic, and I think it is more or less true. At any particular time, especially in case of a B2B purchase or a B2B software purchase, there are only 3 to 5% people who are in the market to buy. So if there are the audience is 100%, there are 100 organizations, there are three organizations only who will be looking to buy within a month, which means everyone is going after those three organizations, so that sir please buy my stuff, and sir please buy my stuff. The the how demand gen works is you focus on the rest of 97 as well, because there will be a time those 97 will become these three, and when that comes into play, you are one of the topmost consideration when they are looking to buy. So that is what demand gen is. You are there in the eyes of the customer. You keep on pushing out good quality content, industry perspectives, getting the right people onto your podcasts and lives, the way, and pushing in good kind of surveys that gives a perspective on what the industry is trending towards, what are the next big things that are happening in martech, in hr tech, in fintech, whichever industry you are playing with. So converting those 97% to 3% when that right time is, that becomes your bigger demand gen play. So if you know Venn diagram, the bigger circle is demand gen. The lead gen becomes a small part of it. So that is when you are focusing on that 3%, that this Siddharth is in the market to buy a CRM, let me loop him in. And that is when lead gen happens. So that is how we distinguish. And therefore, the strategies to do both kind of things differ. And we can have a separate show on demand gen. It is one of the things that I love to do.
Yeah, got it. Understood. We have one more question from my friend and colleague. As an entrepreneur now with a changed mindset, do you think that the same kind of mindset would help employees perform better?
Definitely. The problem is it is very difficult to get into that mindset. One, if you are not an entrepreneur. So I'll give you my personal experiences as well, and this is something that I have realized when I have transitioned into roles. You While you strive to do well for yourself, the way you are doing it has to impact the larger goal of the organization. So for me, the end goal is reaching X number in revenue, right? Now, it is not as if that my play or the cards that I have on the table is LinkedIn, Facebook, Google. That has been when you are as an employee and talking as a marketer, you have to think holistically what is better for the organization. If it is better for the organization to for so that someone in finance takes a front seat and Siddharth in marketing takes a back seat, you do that. But it is very difficult to do, because you are in the you want to be the one who is responsible for creating a change or making a difference. But that is something I realized as I transitioned, that you do not have to be the hero every time, and it is okay to play. And I try to be that. Was I am always the best actor in the supporting role. In the last 3 years, that is what I have tried to tell my employees as well, that Siddharth is the best actor in the supporting role. Someone in graphics who's working is the best actor, and someone who's working in the performance team is the best actress, and so on and so forth. We are always you learn to be in the background, and that is what has grown. And if you learn to do that in a job, your organization will be extremely lucky to have you.
They've taken note of this. We are going to cut this and put it. That was a good analogy. So yeah, I think it has been a great discussion with you, Siddharth, and thanks audience for your amazing questions. And I'm very sorry for the initial goof up, but it is what it is. So thank you all for joining in. I'll close the session now. You can find the recording on my profile and also on YouTube. Um Yeah, so that's all from my side. Thank you for joining in, Siddharth, and thank you everybody who tuned in.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.